to Thursday's edition of The Big Show on your Total Sports Station, KTGR. Andy Humphrey, Brendan Schaefer here. And I mean, Dennis Gates and co. They're starting to make you believe a little more, aren't they? I mean, it is a great day to be a Missouri Tiger, according to Samuel on our YouTube channel. How about that?
Heck of a win. Heck of a win as a 12.5-point underdog to go in and win a place they've never won before. And they're 2-0 in league play now in the Southeastern Conference against two pretty good. I mean, those are both blue blood programs that Mizzou knocks off to kick off their conference slate. Whatever you think of the season that either of them are having, with Kentucky struggling, obviously. Florida has had their bumps in the road, but did handle Georgia pretty easily, a ranked team earlier this week. So yeah, I'm the tide might be turning a little bit with this Mizzou basketball team. It's fun.
We want your thoughts on them, so give them to us at 573-875-KTGR. We'll get Eli Hoff's thoughts as well on that Mizzou Hoops team and on the transfer portal craziness coming up at 425. We have to talk some Chiefs today. Rashee Rice. There are new allegations about him, and they're not the good kind.
I'm over this guy. I'm so over this guy.
They're almost never the good kind. When you hear the allegations in the news, they're almost never good. So we'll talk about him for Rashee Rice at 5:05. We'll also talk college football playoff. Who you got tonight and tomorrow night as the four teams left battled out for a spot in the championship game. We'll talk about that. Get your predictions in. We'll call or text at 573-875-KTGR. You can also see us live on YouTube right now and leave us a comment there, youtube.com/@KTGR Sports. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/KTGR Big Show.
Now, the Big Show's Big Deal.
Mizzou finished on a 15-2 run at Rupp Arena to defeat Kentucky 73-68 and get their first ever win in Lexington. It's also the first time since Mizzou joined the SEC that they've ever started 2-0 in conference. Mark Mitchell with a clutch bucket to put Mizzou up 1 in the final half minute. He finished with 21 points to lead Tiger scores. Jaden Stone also coming up big in some key moments. He finished with 20 points as the Tigers are now 12-3 overall. And again, take that 2-0 record into this weekend where they go and visit the Ole Miss Rebels. We'll see if the Tigers can keep this rolling, as they didn't do much in non-con play as far as grabbing quality wins. But now they've got 2 under their belts as conference play has begun. And that is the Big Show's Big Deal on this 8th day of January 2026. You can call or text us here at 573-875-KTGR. James texted in. Told you last night, Brendan, you could have had 6-1 on Mizzou money line last night.
I know it. Nope, that was a missed opportunity. Those are usually my two favorite words, and I didn't think it was coming. I did not think that this outcome was coming, and I am glad it did, because now you really can start to dream a little bit. It's not to say that all the work is done by any means, but you can't really ask for a better start to conference play with the two opponents that they had to face and to handle them both the way that they did.
They had a 3.8% chance of winning with 4:37 left in the game when they trailed by 8.
Yeah,
Mizzou did.
I don't even know if I agree with that, because I'll tell you this, and I was tweeting from the Big Show account last night some of my thoughts. Kentucky did not look good to me. In this game, they just did not look like they were this impenetrable fortress that Missouri wouldn't be able to hang around with these guys. I know that the deficit got to 8, but even then it was kind of like, I don't know. I just hadn't seen anything special from Kentucky to think that the game was over.
Well, sure, they've got their flaws. I'm not saying that they're this world-beating team. Maybe their talent suggests it. Some of the players that they have on their team maybe suggests it. But it seems that Mizzou also just had the counterpunch. Like, it was just a good old-fashioned back and forth to me with how these two teams were. Look, both of them made mistakes, but they kind of matched their mistakes. 13 turnovers, I believe, for Kentucky and 12 for Mizzou. Pretty even in the rebounding department. The shooting percentages, Mizzou did really well inside the arc. Mark Mitchell, a really big reason of that. But even Anthony Robinson and Jaden Stone just being able to finish when they have lanes to drive through and weren't leaving those opportunities on the table, which when you go on the road and you miss layups, it's just, it's infuriating. But Mizzou didn't do much of that last night. So it's just about having a plan to turn to when Kentucky finds an answer for what you were doing earlier. And nobody really extended too far away from the other in this contest. Mizzou led by as many as 7 and Kentucky led by as many as 8. It was just a good old fashioned battle by two teams that I think are a little bit closer together than maybe we think.
It's hard at this point to feel differently than that. Now, part of that is I do think Kentucky coming back to the pack a little bit. As we talked about yesterday, they were ranked among, the very top in the country coming into the year because of their talent, because of the names that are on their roster. But they haven't coalesced just yet. I do think that it'll probably ultimately come together for them, which is what you want. Now, if you're a Mizzou fan, you want Kentucky to go on a run and, win as many games as they can, because that would really boost your resume if they end up being anything close to the team that people thought they were to begin the season. Now that you've already got that win in hand over them. I think Mizzou's, though, better than we thought they were, certainly better than we thought they were after that Illinois game. But again, are they a completely different team because they added 2 players that are prominent, guys to the healthy lineup? And does that change the dynamic enough that we have to completely rethink what we thought of this team? It's getting closer and closer to feeling that way. Last night's result was completely, again, you win by 5 and you're supposed to lose by 12.5. I'm surprised there wasn't maybe more of a Ken Pom bump than there was, but there was a bump. And you look at the names contributing in this one. Jaden Stone, we knew he had something to him before the injury, and now he comes back 20 points last night in 27 minutes. That's substantial what he was able to bring to the table. And look, man, Trent Pierce's numbers don't necessarily jump off the screen at you. 5 points, 3 assists, 5 rebounds, but he's playing 27 minutes, and I just like his game. I like what he brings to the table, and I like that I like that Dennis Gates told us, hey, we're not the team that we're going to be once we get healthy. And then these 2 guys come back, and they both play significant minutes in both of the games. There was no easing in. There was no, there's nothing like that. It was right. Dennis Gates telling us these guys matter to our team, and then playing them a ton, and those guys both coming through.
And look, it's not just those guys in the minutes that they're getting, but the amount of minutes that are given to players is a finite amount in each and every game. And before that time that they got those guys back, Dennis Gates was having to kind of empty the bench a little bit more or play more guys 10 plus minutes than he usually would. But we're kind of used to seeing that a lot from Dennis Gates, playing a bunch of guys. And it's can you really do that? I know you want to showcase your depth, but is it kind of weird that all of a sudden this guy's playing 15 minutes one night and then he doesn't play the next? Well, here's the thing. Last night, there were really only, 8 guys ended up getting into the game with 10 minutes or more. Nicholas Randall was one of them, and that was still kind of spot duty for him. There is a clear rotation now. Yeah. I think you clearly have definitely 6, probably 7 guys that are getting a healthy minutes workload, and you can predict who they are. You couldn't necessarily predict who was going to get 15 minutes a night in past seasons with Dennis Gates. Now, maybe there will be times down the line where they need to rely on some of those other guys, but look, they're starting to have the guys that they want to be at the forefront emerge. And again, they got 2 of those guys back. So 2 of the 7 rotational players that you have wanted to be leading your team into this conference season are back. I think that's meaningful. I think it'd be meaningful for any college basketball team besides Mizzou to get 2 guys like that back.
And not just rotational, Mark Mitchell and Anthony Robinson are going to play the whole game, right? Trent Pierce and Jaden Stone were next up in the minutes count. I think Sean Phillips' role is going to generally be what it is, and he's going to be in that 20-minute range. He was at 22 last night. But I think the best version of Mizzou basketball this year is going to be Jaden Stone playing a ton, Trent Pierce playing a ton, and those guys bringing it on offense for sure, but definitely on the defensive end as well, and getting that type of run. And everybody else behind that is ancillary, including Jacob Cruz, who played 16 minutes. I'll be very curious to see what his kind of watermark ends up being, what his level ends up being throughout conference play on how many minutes he plays. I'm not saying he shouldn't be a part of the rotation, but I think less is potentially more when it comes to the Jacob Cruz contributions. And that's kind of the role that he played last year when the team was really good and up until they ran into Drake, a legit contender last season. So, yeah, I don't have any issue with things falling into place for then Jacob Cruz to maybe have more of a, a limited role in the way that we saw it play out. Well, I think that fits the roster better. If you're going to be a contending great roster, Jacob Cruz has to be your 6th or 7th best player. He can't be your 3rd most relied upon player. It just doesn't work.
Well, you can in certain situations. I think matchups is still a big part of how Dennis Gates plays all of this. Like sure. Jacob Cruz scored 13 points by having 0 3-pointers against Florida because Florida's a smaller team and they decided, hey, having a lengthy guard type player like Jacob Cruz is beneficial to us to have him play more minutes. And so we're going to feed him in this way. And last night they decided to essentially flip the minutes that they had between Jacob Cruz and Trent Pierce from the Florida game to the Kentucky game. Because I think Pierce was around the 15-ish range, 17-ish range against Florida. He got ramped up to 27 in this game, and Cruz got eaten a little bit more in his minutes count. So, you can have ebbs and flows to this, but I think clearly what we've seen recently is Dennis Gates having some favorites that he wants to be out there, and based on the matchups and what you have at your disposal, you can insert this guy in and have them be a little bit more of a focal point on this night versus another night. And look, Dennis Gates has 7 of those guys right now. Maybe you need 1 or 2 more to really get through this type of schedule. But that to me has been what's most impressive, is that we are seeing the adjustments not only in game, but between games for how Dennis Gates has tried to attack these teams.
Yeah, I would say the last 2 results and the way that the team came out and played are so encouraging from a coaching standpoint. Yes, the personnel has changed. They got 2 guys back that I think are the 3rd and 4th most meaningful players on the team, I think, returned to the lineup against Florida. And then we've seen them over the last 2 days or last 2 games. For them to then be able to have it go almost picture perfect in the way that the game plan breaks down and the execution using those 2 guys as part of the group is fantastic. I don't think you could ask for much more. There will be nights where they shoot better than they've shot over these last couple of games. There'll be nights where they shoot worse. But I think you're establishing a little bit of what that identity looks like for the team, and that's critical.
Call or text us with what you think, 573-875-KTGR. Mizzou gets it done in Lexington last night for another SEC victory, 2-0 for the first time ever since they joined the SEC. This comment here saying celebrating 2-0 in conference play is funny to me. Glad we got the win, but there's so much more to prove after the Illinois game before I have real hope.
It's funny to me to say that if you watched the Illinois game and then you saw these 2 games thereafter. It's funny to me to not think it's a significant turnaround relative to what happened against the Illini in St. Louis. That's funny to me.
Right, yeah.
I don't think
it's a different
popping
team.
Champagne yet.
It feels like a different team. I know they only added 2 players, but again, we talk about the amount of minutes that Dennis Gates would have wanted those players to be on the floor for Kansas and for Illinois. I don't know if they win those games if those players are on the floor, but it doesn't look like laughers by the time halftime rolls around in those games. Now, look, the problem is those games still count. And that's why, Brendan, you're talking about, well, are they going to get a metrics bump from it? Well, they're kind of back to where they were before they got blown out by Illinois. And now with the wins they have gotten, outperforming some projections against Florida and against Kentucky, they've kind of crept back to where they were before then. So, that's going to be what the challenge is.
Yeah.
You have to overcome a non-conference that not only netted you 0 quality wins, but also 2 really ugly looking losses against good teams. And that's going to, for fans that are still skeptical and be like, I don't know if this is an NCAA tournament team because this is still a high hill to climb based on how non-conference play went. Like, I get it.
Yeah, you're right about that, but I don't think we're going to be watching I think the two games that we've seen so far in SEC play show us that we're not going to be watching this team that lost by 43 to Illinois. Like, I don't think that team is coming back.
As long as everybody's healthy.
Right. As long as you keep the same personnel that you've got right now and you can avoid injuries, I think it's pretty clear that the worry was that team was going to play against an SEC that contains more than a handful of, top 25 caliber teams and was going to play that schedule out and look like that against all those teams. Now, I don't know how many Illinois the SEC really has. Probably Vanderbilt is the only one that I would commit to it after last night.
I mean,
them beating Alabama the way that they did and the way that they can score. The Vanderbilt's legit.
They are very good.
But,
yeah,
Florida's still ranked 13th in KenPom. Illinois is 9. So, I mean, that's a team that you not only did Mizzou play competitively against Florida, they won the game. They were not even destined to be on the same floor with Illinois, and that was a neutral site. It wasn't even a road game. Last night, Kentucky's got more of its issues. It's not as good as Illinois, and it's not, metrics are going to show that they're not in the same class, but I mean, come on, what are we talking about? It's a completely night and day difference that I think, no, it doesn't fix the entire resume in one fell swoop, but you can't expect it to. I'm just looking forward and saying that, like, I think it's reasonable to surmise that some of the things that cause those resume holes that you're going to have to deal with all year aren't applicable now. Like, yeah. I think they've turned a corner. I'm not going to say that there won't be bumps in the road. Like, they could easily have a letdown at Ole Miss. Now that's a game that you expect to win. Showing what they're capable of with this group over the last 2 games, you expect to beat Ole Miss. I don't.
KenPom projects it to be a loss. Just saying, it's more even than you think. It's still a road game in the SEC.
I disagree.
It's a road game in the SEC, Brendan.
I understand that. You expect to win this game. I just there's no way for that to be considered a hot
coin.
Take.
It's a coin flip.
It's a coin flip because now again, you have to. Where does KenPom come up with that? You have to come up with why that's their stance. And we just talked about how KenPom will be bogged down for Missouri for a long time because of some outlier in a negative direction losses that do not accurately reflect who Missouri is right now. And unless there's an injury to Trent Pierce or Jaden Stone before Saturday, yes, you can't just look at KenPom and say, well, KenPom says. No, KenPom, we just told you why KenPom's going to be wrong for a while about Missouri, and that's encouraging. You expect to win this game. You're a better team than Ole Miss. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Call or text.
Losing it would now be a setback, given the.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
It's just I just don't understand how you do. Losing
Why?
It would be
going into this week. We said splitting this week would be good for Mizzou. That's why it's not a setback.
Yeah, it would be a setback to lose this because you've got enough road games that you have to go to that aren't going to be teams ranked 70th in KenPom when you get there, right? This is one that because of...
But you have enough home games to work with that you can go 8-8 the rest of the way, and that finishes 10-8, and that's probably a tournament team, right?
Yeah, but also, and that's probably true. And I know that a week ago I was talking about Mizzou like, hey, a day ago I was saying, hey, a little too early to call them a tournament team or to be even like trying to map out and plot out where the wins come from to get to where you'd become one.
Right.
That was before they won at Kentucky as a 12.5-point underdog. That's a season-shifting win. That's an outlook-defining win that changes the trajectory of the way we should be thinking about the team. After a win like last night, it would be a disappointment not to make the tournament. Based on what we're seeing from the first 2 games in conference, for them to not be able to rattle out 10-8 would now be a disappointment. Our expectations, I think, should shift as we find out more about what this team is. And it's weird that we had to wait till January to get any data points on this team in a positive way, but they just didn't play enough games against good competition.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it with their full arsenal. And now they've got both those things. They're going to be playing good teams every week. And hopefully they'll be doing it with their full complement of talent, which absolutely, to me, shifts the dynamic in a major way.
Well, we can now, it can be back on the table what Mizzou's path can be to the NCAA tournament now. So we shall see. Call or text us, Mizzou fans, what you think, 573-875-KTGR. We've got Matey here on the KTGR hotline.
Here we go.
Matey, what you got?
First of all, Happy New Year to both of you guys, especially my
Happy New Year, matey.
friend, Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brandon, why you are so much arguing, buddy? Settle down. 2026. Yes, last night was good game. First of all, that Kentucky was not Kentucky. Could go either way. But I agree with Andy. Any game on road can happen. Right now, you say, are you 100% we are going to beat Ole Miss? Answer me, Brandon.
No, I'm not 100%. You should expect to win that game, though, based on what we've seen this week.
Love you so much. Listen to me. I'm speaking English. You want to speak Japanese with you? Can you say Japanese? Come on, Brandon. Any expectation? We expected any game on the road, home won it. Any game. Alabama, football, anybody. That could happen. Come on, Brandon. 2023. I love you so much. Settle down, please. Don't much argue. God bless you. Have a nice evening, both of you.
I appreciate you, matey, here on the Big Show.
I'm glad
Thank you,
Matey knows
GR.
what year it is. I am encouraged by that.
Well, look, I mean, I don't
know how you could look at a team 70th in Ken Pom after the last two games, knowing the hill they've got to climb, and say that you shouldn't go in there expecting to win this game.
I'm not saying you shouldn't have confidence as a team thinking that you can go in and win it. I'm not saying that Mizzou should be happy if they don't get it done. I'm saying that this is still very difficult to navigate through this schedule. And look, Mizzou has had good returns, very good returns on their first couple, and that has brought them back into this conversation of can they get enough to impress the committee to have a resume that is worthy of an at-large bid. And yeah, going on the road, I just don't think you can expect quad one wins all the time. This is a quad one still. Like it is.
Not after it's over.
Well,
what's that, top 75?
Yeah, top 75.
For a road game?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 70th right now. They lost to 16.
And that
16
can still change.
Oklahoma.
It might be on the border, but you can still have it be a quad one win at the end of the season.
Absolutely. There's no reason they shouldn't expect to win this game. Let me ask you. And I mean, obviously Friday we'll go through it a little bit more in depth when we're previewing the game.
Yeah.
But you look at this game and say if they lose it, you're not going to be disappointed? Just as a Mizzou fan, knowing what they're capable of now, like this is one of the lesser teams in the conference. I don't know where Ole Miss ranks on Ken Pom relative to the rest of the league, but it's not up there very highly.
No, look, I understand that you want to get as many as possible. But you're going to be disappointed by just about any loss. That's the thing, though.
I wouldn't have been last night. I wouldn't have been.
No, like the thing is, when you go on the road in this league, anything you can, those wins are precious, and you take them. That's why last night was so big. That's why they were a 12.5-point underdog. Part of the reason, at least, it's not. I don't even know if they're going to be favored in this game, according to the sports books. It's a coin flip.
Actually, it's a phenomenal question. I will look forward to.
Yeah, once it comes out, we shall see. But I mean, it's great win for Mizzou. If they get another one, that'll be excellent too. It's not a season ender if you don't get this win this upcoming
Nobody
weekend.
said season ender. You're moving the goalposts on me. They should expect to win this game against the worst teams metrically in the SEC, even though it's a road game. They should expect to win that game because they are raising their level of the type of team that I think we can reasonably expect of them. Earlier in the week, the case was, they've got a hill to climb, and if they can split this week, that's going to tell me that they're on the right path. They're on the right trajectory, and they're moving in a good direction to maybe be able to start thinking about what sneaking into the NCAA tournament field could look like. I no longer am thinking that way. I'm thinking it would be a disappointment seeing what they're capable of against this type of competition in two straight games, home or road, hasn't made a difference. Yeah, to see that from them the first time we've seen them all year as a full, healthy team with all their pieces in place. I know Johan Porter hasn't played. He was going to be in the North Weather category, right? He wasn't supposed to be playing 15, 20 minutes. That was to your point that you were making earlier.
Sure.
So, no, I think it's totally reasonable to see them beat Kentucky and go, first of all, obviously wrong to count them out before they end up getting the pieces back that they got. But I think you can absolutely rethink the trajectory and now start to say, hey, rather than sneak into the tournament, it's like, let's see them be one of the better teams in this league to where by the time you get to Selection Sunday, that's not a question. I don't know that two games have done that definitively, but I think there's an argument to be made that it's fair to kind of raise those expectations already.
All right, 875 KTGR, if you want to weigh in, how do you feel about Mizzou men's hoops now? How have they changed your outlook on the team and the rest of this season? We'll get the thoughts of Eli Hoff on that same question and about the transfer portal and the craziness that Mizzou football is trying to navigate next on The Big Show.
The Big Show with Andy and Brendan continues next on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for Lee's Tire Company. It is getting to be holiday time, and that means slick roads a lot of the time. So make sure that your tires are in tip-top shape. If you need new ones, now's a great time to get some at Lee's Tire Company, because right now they're running a special where you can buy 2 tires and get 2 free on Mastercraft and other select brands. That's right. Buy 2 tires and get 2 free. That'll save you a ton of money if you need new tires or you just want to switch them out for the winter time. You can do that too with Lee's Tire Company. They have an excellent service team at all 3 of their locations that can get your car serviced for these winter months. And of course, they are the tire pros in mid-Missouri. I've gotten my new tires from Lee's Tire Company. You should do so too, especially now. Buy 2 tires, get 2 free on Mastercraft and other select brands at Lee's Tire Company on the Business Loop in Columbia or University Garage by the MU campus or their location in Centralia. If it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. Lee'sTireCompany.com.
Guys like me that are born and raised in this area and are running a company here, we want to do things for the customers the right way.
Barry Rowe of True Sun Exteriors knows it's important to stay local.
Storm chasers that come into town or fly-by-night companies, they'll do things for less money than we will, but that's because they don't intend to do it correctly, and they certainly don't intend to fix it because they're going to be gone or out of business. They'll come into town and get a local phone number and a local PO address so they can say that they're local. Well, they're not local. It's extremely important, especially with roofs and windows and big projects, that you choose someone who cares about what's going on. You may pay a few $100s more for it, but it's better than saving a few $100s and then a year down the road having to redo the whole project again with someone local and just going through the headache of having to do that again and having all the issues.
The difference between a house and a home is the attention to detail. At True Sun Exteriors and Interiors, we'll turn your vision of a dream home into a reality. For more information or a free estimate, go to TrueSunExteriors.com.
TrueSunExteriors.com.
Stop smoking with hypnosis. Only $59.99 guaranteed or your money back.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing.
I don't have any cravings.
You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Stop smoking with hypnosis. Guaranteed. No irritability, no cravings. Because don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all. In addition, use hypnosis to lose all the weight and destroy unwanted cravings. Hypnosis Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis, 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis, 8 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
You don't just sell, you connect. You listen, learn, and deliver. You build relationships that turn clients into partners. At Fuse 32, our people don't push products. They craft solutions. They anticipate problems before they even happen, and they fix them before anyone notices. If results and relationships, not excuses, drive you, then it's about time to join the team that never settles. Fuse 32. There's nothing we can't do. Apply now at Fuse32.com.
If it's Mizzou sports, it's happening here. Now, back to the Big Show on KTGR.
Excitement grows from Mizzou basketball after last night's win at Kentucky. You can call or text us with how you feel after that one. 875-KTGR or comment on our YouTube channel on Facebook. And be sure to subscribe to YouTube if you haven't already. You can watch each and every show on YouTube there. And we get to now get the thoughts on Mizzou hoops and all things Mizzou football transfer portal as well with Eli Hoff of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch joins us here. You can follow him at by Eli Hoff on Twitter and go subscribe to the St. Louis Post to see all his great stuff. I mean, we talked about it here, first half hour here, Eli, just the night and day difference, it seems, that Mizzou hoops has shown in just 2 games, adding 2 players to the mix. How does that adjust how you maybe project Mizzou going forward with what we've seen in these two games against two pretty quality opponents.
Yeah, well, if there was a college basketball MVP, I think we'd have to say it's Jaden Stone, right? Because he has changed a team's fortunes just by coming back. I'm not sure how much the needle has moved for me, to be honest. It's certainly in a more positive spot than it was when I was walking out of the Enterprise Center after bragging rights, because I was ready to entertain a 3 or 4 win season in SEC play and it just being terrible. And it's obviously not going to be that, partly because they already have 2 wins. Florida and Kentucky are teams that have had negative momentum really since the moment they tipped off. That they were the preseason 1 and 2 in the country and have fallen substantially from there. You watched Kentucky last night. That is not a good basketball team. They are miserably out of sorts. And Mizzou won that game, but there were a lot of things that a better team would have punished in that situation. So I don't want to take away from the program's first 2-0 start or 2-0 start to SEC play in history or anything like that. But I'm not thinking this is magically a 12-win team. I think this is still a bubble team. The non-conference resume is still lacking, and there's still ground to be made up there. So better spot. I think we can entertain the NCAA tournament in a way that we couldn't a couple weeks ago. But again, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves just yet.
Sure. It's one that gets Mizzou or fans more excited into each and every game, and we'll see how they're able to bounce off of that. Just the additions of, essentially the returns of Trent Pierce and Jaden Stone to the rotation. Just how have you seen it make the impact on how Dennis Gates has given usage across the board to some of the other players and what it is, in fact, doing as far as an impact on everybody else on the floor?
Yeah, I think it does a few things. Defensively, it helps with the rebounding because you have Trent Pierce's length, and Jaden Stone has been really good. As I call it kind of schematic rebounding, where he's able to come down from the perimeter to collect the board. So Mark Mitchell doesn't have to be the one who actually does the rebounding. He can focus on boxing out, and then Jaden Stone comes down to get the ball there. So it helps on that end. Obviously, both are capable 3-point shooters. That makes a huge difference. That these last 2 games, Jacob Cruz has been almost a non-factor from a 3-point shooting standpoint. I think he made 1 against Kentucky. I know he went 0 for 1 against Florida because there's other guys who can make those shots now. Jaden Stone can be a ball handler or kind of a secondary ball handler as well. And then what's also important, and I want to frame this respectfully, having them back keeps some other guys off the floor or requires other guys to play less. Like Mizzou's just able to take out 2 replacement to below average players and slot them in with SEC caliber starters, or in Jaden Stone's case, like a good SEC player. So that just inherently makes this team better when they're on the floor. And I do think from these last couple of games that difference is substantial. Dennis Gates was saying that, and he was right. He absolutely was.
And how much do you think the credit ought to go to the coaching staff and the way that they have been able to utilize guys? And it's not just the personnel's different, but the way that they are executing, it does feel like a completely different game plan. Whereas they just, you had to have Jacob Cruz shooting a bunch of threes, and that was kind of one of your best options for scoring. And now that it's not, they immediately say, hey, this is the way we want it to slot in. And they're not still kind of chasing what wasn't working. They're utilizing the personnel to the best of what those guys bring to the table, I suppose.
Yeah, the whole operation, the whole fit just feels a little smoother now. It felt like there was some tension to it before, just with when Mizzou was having to go with some of these non-spacing bigs who just don't complement Mark Mitchell and Anthony Robinson, right? They kind of contrast their styles, actually. Now that you're able to space around them and go to lineups that don't have Sean Phillips, that don't frankly have Luke Northweather, don't have Trent Burns out there. Like when Mizzou's able to actually go weirdly kind of smaller or just more go stretchier, really, with some of that, it's helped a lot with some of that. You're able to see the team work a little quicker. The onus on the coaching staff now is to figure out this free throw business. It's going to bite this team at some point. It should have bit them last night. That's the big question mark for me, in all honesty, because I feel like we've seen now this team has the baseline talent level that we kind of thought they would. It's just a matter of some of the I don't know what we want to call that, almost game management sort of things that I think will come up in SEC play.
The free throw thing is probably my favorite thing to harp on, because it seems like it should be something that's so fixable, especially for a team like Dennis Gates has always preached getting to the line and the value that there can be for your team when you do that. But what did they do other than just start making them? Because it's been a trend that, some of your best players are really good at getting to the line, but they also have to be able to knock these down to take full advantage of that being a core part of their strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a stat for you guys that I pulled going into the game yesterday. Over the 5 games heading into last night, Mizzou had the second worst free throw percentage in the country on its first free throw of a given trip to the line. Second worst in the nation. And then last night, Mizzou was 5 for 9 on its first free throw attempt of a given trip to the line. Again, when they needed a free throw late, they missed it. They just somehow got the rebound. Like, they should have been punished. It will be punished at some point. I have to think. We'll see. I think we've reached the point in the season where it's not going to change. Like, I know they keep practicing it. I don't know if you can magically turn your team into from a bad free throw shooting team to a good free throw shooting team in season. So now my question is kind of, how do you compensate for that? Is it just you hope the volume is there, that you can get to the line 29 times, and even if you're only going to make 18 of those, like, that's still 18? Like, is it just a volume thing? Is it something that's going to have to change with kind of crunch time game management? I don't know. But that's what my question is going to be to Dennis Gates here as this evolves. Because I think by this point we have a body of work that says, hey, this is not a team that's very good at free throws.
Eli Hoff of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. It's fair now to count like what Mizzou might need now going forward to put themselves in NCAA tournament conversation. What's the number to you, Eli, that Mizzou needs to maybe attain to feel good about what the committee might think of them heading into Nashville and then when they're sweating it out Selection Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, first we need to be clear, this is not last year's SEC where you're going to be able to finish 12th, 13th, 14th and have a chance. You probably, the number Dennis Gates has been lobbying for is 10. I've seen some people say it's more like 9. So let's just say you have to be around top half in the SEC. To me, the bare minimum to even be in the discussion is going to be 8 wins. That's eight SEC wins, so going 8 and 10, which would be going 6 and 10 the rest of the way. It certainly looks a lot more possible now, right? I think it probably is going to have to be more like 9 and 9 in SEC play, plus you do something in Nashville, because again, Mizzou just doesn't have anything to hang its hat on from non-con, unless Minnesota's been on a roll. Maybe they're going to turn into something good. I wouldn't bank on that though. So I feel like we should set the bar at 9 wins to feel decent. If Mizzou can win 10 or 11 games in SEC play, then you're probably fine. But probably 9 and something in Nashville is where I'm at.
Eli Hoff of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch here on the Big Show, KTGR. Let's turn to football now. It is the thick of transfer portal season. Mizzou has today gotten an offensive lineman out of Arizona State, Josh Atkins, who figures to be a good candidate for one of the tackle spots. How do you view now with 10 transfers in that we know about for Mizzou, what it has done so far to recruit what it has lost through this exact same period?
Yeah, it's tough to evaluate it when it's a work in progress, because obviously it's not at a point where it's a net gain or that it looks like a net gain, partly because 12 more players have gone than have come in. Getting Austin Simmons and that quarterback situation resolved right away. He carries some of the same question marks that applied to Bo Prabula at this time last year, but it's more aesthetically convincing when you watch Austin Simmons throw the ball, and it's wrapped up early. So I think that's a victory there. This Zay Shonke, who's coming from Houston Christian, who's a D2 running back, I think is fun. I don't know how much we're going to see him, but I think that's a fun add. Getting Robert Woodyard at linebacker, that's key, because losing Josiah Trotter to the draft is understandable, but a big loss. We'll see if they can do something like that at edge as well, just with Damon Wilson going to the portal. So I think it's going fine. Again, this football program is in a similar-ish spot to what men's basketball was this past window, where the bigger priorities were, can you retain Hardy and Roberts? Can you retain Olubade? Can you retain Caden Green and keep him out of the NFL draft? And Mizzou's been able to do all of that so far, save for Damon Wilson. So I think it's been fine so far. But again, there's so much. All 11 defensive starters have to be replaced. It's going to be hard to feel good about that unit until probably October, if we're being honest.
With the recent additions now to offensive line, they've had a couple of guys come in, and wherever you think everybody might fit, there's at least the notion of they've got numbers now that they can kind of divide it up and decide where they want different guys to play. Is it that defense that has the most glaring needs remaining? And is there a level of the defense in particular that you would say, yeah, if they're going to throw a bag of money still at somebody, here's maybe the position to do it?
Yeah, well, real quick on the O-line, I'm torn right now because looking at Josh Atkins, he has a lot of starts at left tackle. Right tackle is now the key spot here if you're going to have a lefty quarterback. And so maybe he bumps over and it's fine. I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical there, but I haven't given him a fair shake, so I don't want to say that's not going to work. We'll see. For me, defensively, it's cornerback. When I look at one of the key differences between what Mizzou had in 2023, when it would have made a 12-team college football playoff, and what it didn't have in 24 and 25, cornerbacks. Ennis Rakestraw and Chris Abrams-Drain, and it has not been that level since they left. And Toriana Pride made some strides this year. That's great. But now if you're Mizzou, you're replacing your top three corners. That's the position for me to just go after hard. I know people like the edge position because you can get the sacks. I know the linebackers were great this past year, but for me, it's cornerback because that's what has been a step down from where it was before the last couple of years.
Eli Hoff of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch here on the Big Show KTGR. From what we know about Austin Simmons on the field, what do you maybe look for if in fact he is the guy? And like, I'm sure they'll have a competition, but it seems that Simmons is the front runner. Just what questions need to be answered from your end on how he might be leading this offense going forward based on what you've seen him show at Ole Miss so far?
Yeah, well, by all accounts, he's a very smart guy. By all accounts, when you watch him throw it, it looks better downfield than it did with Bo Perbila. There's not a sample size to be able to say he's going to be a great passer. My question with Simmons is bigger picture to this offense. How much is Mizzou going to need to throw the football? Like this team, when you're bringing back an All-American tailback and another running back who could probably start for a dozen SEC schools, how much do you need to throw the football when you're bringing that back? You look at what this receiving core is going to be. It's Alubade and some dudes. I think that's fine as a roster construction because you invested so much at running back. So for me, I don't view this as Austin Simmons needs to be a Heisman level guy or even needs to be one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the SEC. He just needs to not be an active detriment to his offense and maybe, when called upon, lead a game-winning drive or two at some point this season. If Mizzou had a quarterback who could do that this past season, it would have been in the playoff. So that's kind of the bar for me. I don't know what kind of look or what kind of intel the coaching staff will even really have until August. I'll be really interested to see what the quote-unquote competition looks like between him and Zollers because it feels like that's inevitable. We'll see. But yeah, my question's a little more about how the passing game is even needed more than anything else.
Well, it certainly seems that from Mizzou's perspective, at least from what we know about how their processes have gone for losing players and then acquiring new ones, but I suppose it's relatively tame to what we've seen across college football in some other situations, Damon Williams and some others out there. Just what have you made of it as a whole, Eli? This, again, unprecedented territory that we're in, but just is it as crazy as we all maybe were thinking it was going to be?
Yeah, well, it's funny. Mizzou's lost 22, 23 players and brought in 10, and we're calling that tame now, right? Like none of this is sustainable for the coaches, for anybody. It isn't sustainable. I don't know if maybe this is the window that it'll finally get fixed. And I don't even mean making employees athletes or anything like that, but at some point we have to decide what we're going to sacrifice in college football. Is that going to be the academic calendar? Is that going to be the bowl games? Is that going to be spring football? Like something has to give, because nobody is having fun right now. This is teams their rosters are going to be basically built 2 weeks from now, and they're not going to be able to add anybody no matter what happens between now and this time next year. It just absolutely ridiculous and cannot work as a way forward for this sport. But you know what? It produces content and gives us plenty to talk about in the meantime. So
there you go. That's what it's all about, obviously, in our neck of the woods. So hey, it's great content and great info to go get from Eli Hoff over at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch during this time of year. Go and subscribe over to the St. Louis Post and find him on Twitter at by Eli Hoff. Great to have him here on the Big Show KTGR. Eli, thanks for taking the time. Good luck during the rest of this portal period. I'm sure it has not been an easy one, but appreciate you making the time for us, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks. We'll just try to stay sane. Just try to stay sane.
That's the goal. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining us here on the Big Show KTGR, the KTGR app. Yeah, the beat writers, man, pour one out for them each and every day this week and next. I mean, so much to keep up with.
Yeah, it's a whirlwind, especially, and you've got basketball full steam ahead with conference play too. So it's not like you can just focus on the football of it all. You gotta be able to to focus on everything.
Yeah, it's a lot, but we'll try to keep up with it ourselves too, and we'll go under the bus next. Mentioned DeMond Williams. There's an update on that doesn't make him look all that much better. That's next.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Andy Humphrey. This Sports Center update is with Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. Go to leestirecompany.com. Mizzou men's basketball with a historic win last night in Lexington. First time they have ever won in Lexington, Kentucky. They defeated the Wildcats 73-68. Mark Mitchell, 21 points, and Jaden Stone with 20. Tigers also start 2-0 in SEC play for the first time in their history when they joined the conference back in 2012. Tigers 12-3 overall. Next game at Ole Miss, 5 o'clock tip-off. You can hear it right here on KTGR on Saturday. Mizzou women's basketball in action tonight. They got a tough test as they take on undefeated Vanderbilt on the road with a 6:30 tip-off and a 6:15 pregame start right here on KTGR. Kelly Harper's group still looking for their first SEC win, losses to Texas and Kentucky so far. And Mizzou football's latest transfer edition, a commitment this morning from former Arizona State offensive lineman Josh Atkins, played primarily at left tackle for the Sun Devils the last 2 seasons. He'll have one final year of eligibility. He'll spend it with the Missouri Tigers. Your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast with Steve's Pest Control during holiday travel. Bedbugs can easily come home with you. Steve's Pest Control will prevent and solve your bedbug problem. Steve'sPestControl.com.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking a few showers and rumbles of thunder throughout this evening. Then by tomorrow morning, we're dropping down into the low 40s. We'll see cloudy skies for the start of the day and temperatures in the upper 40s to around 50. By tomorrow night, we could see a few more showers or even some snow showers into early Saturday morning, with temperatures dropping to near the freezing mark. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
The foundation is set.
Missouri knocks off the #1 team in the nation.
The frame is built.
On the run, Mitchell for the flush, Missouri by 20.
And the gates,
the habits, the response to detail, the execution, all that stuff matters.
Are open.
Drives right baseline to the rim, jams it as he hangs and got fouled.
This is your radio home for Mizzou basketball.
Cruz, here comes the three. Bang! He splashed it home.
Mid-Missouri's total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for Advanced Tree Solutions. Maybe you're like me and you're saying, you know what? This is the year, 2026. My backyard, my front yard, they're going to look pristine. Grass, perfectly manicured, hedges, perfectly trimmed, whatever it may be. And that's all well and good, but don't forget about your trees either. And look, those lawn care companies, they might know a thing or two about trees here and there, but they're not experts. Eric and his team at Advanced Tree Solutions, they're the experts. No one else in Columbia, Fulton, or Jefferson City takes care of your trees better, and no one can do it with the type of care and honesty and approach that Eric and his team has. Every time you work with him, you'll walk away knowing that your trees are getting the best care possible. So whatever it is, tree pruning for the winter, tree removal, stump grinding, so much more, call Eric and his team at Advanced Tree Solutions. Check out their full list of services and book now at AdvancedTreeSolutionsLLC.com. Give your trees the care they deserve with Advanced Tree Solutions.
It was 1 p.m. on a Monday when the phone rang. Brian Ware Plumbing and Restoration answered the call. It was a panicked family with a mouse problem. Well, a mouse/plumbing problem. Their toilet was more backed up than the connector at 63 and I-70. But Brian's team eventually plucked out the problem. It was a mouse, but like the computer kind, which the family then asked if they could keep afterwards. We didn't ask why. Better call Brian and unplug your plumbing problems. BrianWarePlumbing.com.
Hi, my name's Robin Fletcher. I've smoked for 46 years. I went to a seminar in March 27th and seen Mark. My best friend came with me. We both went to it, and neither one of us smoked a cigarette in almost 7.5 months. I took my 3 sisters and my brother-in-law and my sister's best friend and them went. None of them have smoked a cigarette, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
My name is Jen Carpenter. I went to a Mark Patrick seminar, the Stop Smoking, and it worked. A friend of mine also went, and he still no longer smokes, and it was just amazing.
Lose weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis Guaranteed, only $59.99 or your money back. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all or your money back. Stop Smoking Hypnosis, 8 p.m. on Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or 8 p.m. on Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Registration 30 minutes before. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
From elegant weddings to corporate lunches with flavor and flair, Courtyard by Marriott Columbia brings the party and the pros. It's the home of Main Event Catering, and with every event, you'll get an award-winning chef, full banquet staff, and drop-and-go options for any size crowd. And the event center holds up to 300 guests with 8 flexible rooms. If you need help, there's a Marriott certified wedding coordinator on staff too. Book now by calling 573-443-8000.
We're moving faster and faster these days with limited time to make an impact on potential customers. Hi, this is Jimmy at Pro Designs. For nearly 2 decades, we've worked with companies to build strong brands. At Pro Designs, our team can create a vehicle wrap to drive market share, growth, and profits. Connect with your customers on the go, on the road, and on the job site.
Visit us on the web at PRODEZIGNS.com.
Come see them at their locations in Eldon or Columbia off Rangeline Street and I-70.
Pro Designs, the better than a billboard.
Your daily fix of local sports lives here. This is The Big Show on KTGR.
Update on the DeMond Williams situation in Washington. His agent ditched him and said, quote, we love this term, philosophical differences.
Hey, there it is again.
Must be a Cardinals fan. This agent is leaving DeMond Williams. He did get a different agent. DeMond Williams did. Found it interesting, though, that this agent that Williams used to have, the guy who just ditched him, also represents Jed Fish.
Yeah.
So that's an awkward conflict of interest there. But maybe telling that he chose
Not
Jed
anymore.
Fish instead of DeMond Williams.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if you're the agent, ideally it doesn't come to this, but if you're in that situation and you've got a contract that you facilitated, signed, whether you're representing the head coach of that team as well or not, I think the best thing the agent could have done is just say, I'm removing myself from the situation because clearly somebody somewhere is advising him on trying to make this a thing that he can do and like shouldn't be able to do it. And so the agent is like, I'm not getting sued. I'm not involved. I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, I'd say good on him. Like maybe just good business decision all around for that guy.
I don't know how that decision came to be. Maybe it's simply the Jed Fish reason. And so it's kind of a cop out to be giving him credit, but either way, probably safer rather than sorry for him.
Yeah. Also under the bus, I think a little bit to Jerry Jones. We've thrown him under the bus a bit on this segment.
You don't have to convince me. Yeah. What do you do?
Well, it wasn't the end. Was it the end of year press conference? I think it was. Always awkward when he's there with Brian Schottenheimer and Stephen Jones, who was his son and very high up in the organization. Well, this was Jerry Jones talking about what his goal is, and then listen for how his son kind of reacted to that. His son said, you got work to do, buddy.
Getting flamed by the kid who also works for the organization.
You know what? You and I, we probably can relate. Our kids do keep us humble, right?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. But in fairness, it was kind of an outlandish goal to have. I don't think he's going to make it.
No.
But, it's good to have goals.
Of course. Stephen Jones just maybe thinking, can I please just run everything? Do we have to wait that long until you have more than Bob Kraft? Really? We have to wait that long? Man. Honestly, to me, it was kind of hard to believe that Mizzou hadn't been 2-0 in SEC play in men's basketball since joining the conference a little more than a decade ago. But it is true. First time ever. And they've done it in the fashion that I think most Mizzou fans going into last weekend thought by this time they'd be 0-2. But nope, opposite. That's sweet.
I definitely would have predicted 0-2. I think I did. I think I predicted on the show for them to lose both games.
Yeah.
They won them both. I have to capitulate and say clearly I was wrong, and I didn't see the degree to which, these two players coming back could make such a difference. It'd be one thing if they came back and they played competitively and lost close in these two games, but to get on the other side of them, like that was the knock of the Notre Dame loss. That was a game you played in competitively, but you lost it. It's like, are they going to have trouble winning games at the end? Got to work on the free throw stuff because I agree with what Eli Hoff said about that. Could have cost him in both games, frankly. But you got two really good results, and hopefully it's something to build upon.
Up next, more troubling news around Rashee Rice. How much more can the Chiefs stomach? I think that's a fair question to ask. They're probably asking it themselves. We'll discuss it next on The Big Show.
It's hard to believe basketball season is already here. 1851 Underground Tap and Grill reminds you that whether you need a place to grab a bite after a local high school or college game, or you just want to plop down with some friends and watch some hoops on TV, they've got a spot for you. 1851 Underground has drink specials and discount happytizers for happy hour. Check them out on Facebook or at 1851underground.com. It's not a secret, but it is underground. 1851 Underground Tap and Grill in the historic Brick District, downtown Fulton.
Lose weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis Guaranteed or your money back. No matter how many times you failed in the past, this hypnosis is guaranteed to work.
After this hypnosis, I want to eat good food.
Since August, I can honestly say I have not had one potato chip.
It was life-changing for me.
And I don't think about desserts like I used to.
Bridget, how much have you lost now?
I've lost a total of 83 pounds.
Holy cow.
It's easy, it's fun, very relaxing, and very successful.
And I would just say go for it.
Oh my, what are you waiting for? Lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed, only $59.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late-day eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. Hypnosis Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn, Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m., stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Registration 30 minutes before. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
From the trainers to the coaches, the equipment managers to the players and fans, it takes a whole team to be truly successful. Hi, this is Sophie Cunningham, and if you're looking for the best team of jewelers in Columbia, it's Betts. Their staff has years of experience handcrafting jewelry, and when you combine that with the newest technology, it gives Betts Jewelers the ability to truly wow their customers. So talk to the team at your hometown jeweler today. Betts Jewelers in downtown Columbia.
These beautiful moments begin at Betts. Begin at Betts.
KTGR AM Columbia. KTGR FM Fulton, Columbia. K286CL Columbia. In Missouri's total sports station. KTGR.
Sports Center. I'm Nick DeLuca closing in on the CFP semis. Kicking off tonight at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Number 6 Ole Miss, number 10 Miami, battling for a trip to the national championship game. Coverage beginning at 7 Eastern here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Miami, a 3-point favorite tonight. Elsewhere, Ohio State linebacker Arvell Reese announcing he's declaring for the NFL draft. Reese, the number 4 player on ESPN draft analyst Mel Kiper Jr.'s big board, had 69 tackles, 9 for loss, with 6.5 sacks for the Buckeyes this season. Former Washington QB Damon Williams' agent Doug Hendrickson ending their partnership after Williams' announcement that he'll enter the transfer portal, citing philosophical differences. Williams announced he would enter the portal earlier this week after he originally signed a deal to return to the Huskies for 2026. In the NFL, the Dolphins firing head coach Mike McDaniel after 4 seasons in Miami. The team finished 7-10 in 2025 to miss the playoffs for a second straight season.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance flexes to fit your business's needs. From quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options, Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
From Faro.
15 to the
outdoor speakers.
This is the big show, baby.
Get fresh takes on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Right now, this is The Big Show with Andy and Brendan on KTGR.
Love this comment from Samuel on our YouTube channel. Ole Miss is a bottom half team, winnable road game. That's why the urgency should be there on Saturday. I couldn't have said it better myself. We can continue to take your Mizzou basketball thoughts as we roll along here on The Big Show, but we also have to talk about some unfortunate news related to Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. Yeah, off the field allegations once again. We'll have to get into that here in just a couple of minutes, and then we'll preview the CFP semis, which kick off tonight in the Miami Ole Miss matchup. I believe that's the Fiesta Bowl. We'll talk about that at 5:25. 573-875-KTGR to get your thoughts in. But first, it's 5 o'clock.
It's time for the Top 5 at 5 on The Big Show. Number 1.
If you want to trade away for curtain number 1, you can have curtain 1.
Great win for Mizzou basketball last night. One that when they were down 8 with 4.5 left, kind of thought, yeah, they're fighting hard, but maybe this is going to go Kentucky's way. Then all of a sudden they rattle off a 15-2 run. Mark Mitchell, Jaden Stone, Anthony Robinson with some big plays down the stretch to make it happen, and the Tigers come away with a 73-68 win. First time they've ever started 2-0 in SEC play. First time they've ever won in Lexington, Kentucky in program history. So some pretty historic stuff that the Tigers have been able to do in the last week or so. Question is this who they are now? And if that is the case, then yeah, they should win at Ole Miss. Still have to realize it's a road game of the SEC, but they have clearly shown that they are better than what they were in non-conference play when they have everybody healthy. They take on Ole Miss at 5 o'clock Saturday. We'll see what they can show there.
Number 2.
Number 2, your timing is impeccable.
Latest transfer portal addition for Mizzou football is offensive tackle Josh Atkins out of Arizona State. And this guy's played a ton of snaps at the tackle spot, primarily at left tackle the past 2 seasons for the Sun Devils. He also had stops at Houston and Hawaii. This is his final year of eligibility in his 4th school. This seems more like the Keegan Trost replacement. Not just that he's been at 4 schools, but also just the amount of football he's played and maybe the right tackle spot, which is going to be more important now that you have a lefty quarterback. We'll see how the Tigers keep adding in the transfer portal, now up to 10 additions so far.
Number 3.
Rashee Rice trouble again. There's allegations on social media from his ex-girlfriend alleging domestic violence. Now, these allegations aren't naming him by name, but it is pretty implicit that it's him because this woman is saying the father of my children did this, and that is Rice. Chiefs have said that they're aware of it. They're talking with the league. They don't have a comment. At some point, it might be too much trouble than the Chiefs are saying is going to be worth to keep going for Rashee Rice. We'll discuss in a bit.
Number 4.
Oh, shanked it.
Cardinals signed all their eligible players, so not going to any hearings. Royals signed all but 2 so far. Chris Bubich, Vinny Pasquantino, still outstanding in that department. But very big news that kind of overshadows all of that. Both the Royals and Cardinals breaking their deal with FanDuel Sports Network. That's going to be interesting to watch here in the next few weeks.
Number 5.
What the 5 fingers? Say to the face. Slap.
I don't think I've anticipated 2 semifinal matchups for the CFP any more than these 2.
That's The Big Show's Top 5 at 5 on KTGR.
573-875-KTGR, and we'll discuss who we got in those games coming up in a bit. But, we talked earlier. It was either this week or last Friday, Brendan. I feel like we're going to have so much fun watching these games, and I will not be disappointed by whoever wins. I'm totally cool with any of these teams hoisting the trophy up at the end, which is why I've been looking forward to it basically all week. When are they playing? All right. I'll be ready to settle in and watch them once they do.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I will, by the time the games arrive, have preferences on who wins. I'll just put it that way.
All right.
But that's not for anything other than my own, dipping my toe into a jurisdiction of legality waters. I do think I am pretty confident in who's going to win tonight. I don't know if I have as good of an idea on tomorrow night's game.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel more confident about predicting the winner of tonight's game more than I do Indiana, Oregon.
Predicting the winner or predicting
like
how your bet's going to go?
I think that's the same answer to both questions because I am betting on who's going to win.
Okay, that's it. I didn't know if you were betting just spread or any other stuff.
No, it's well, I'll tell you what it is when we preview the games tonight at 5:25.
Interesting.
I'll tell you exactly what I'm betting and whether or not I think the full bet can win or if it's just going to be part of it.
Okay, very good. In the meantime, let's discuss about more trouble for Rashee Rice. I mean, look, I don't know how to react to it yet because right now it's just on social media. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm just saying that the Chiefs probably can't react as much to it until there is more official stuff about it. Like until there's a police report or charges or anything like that, we probably have to wait around to see what this actually is. But anytime you hear domestic violence, like you gotta pay attention. And this is another thing that Rashee Rice has had to make the Chiefs think about other than what he's doing on the field. And to me, we might be close to the point, Brendan, where enough is enough.
Yeah, it might be. It might be done.
I think
if this is substantiated and it's connected to him, as you said, right now it's kind of some dot connecting because of the way that this woman has made these claims. Hasn't necessarily mentioned him by name, but the dot connecting of who she's describing, he would be the other person in this conversation. And if that is indeed the case, it was such a headache to go, okay, how many games will he be suspended for an incident that if we're just talking about like the humanity of it and leaving the sports out of it, like, what are you doing, Rashee Rice, when it came to that incident where he left the scene of what are we doing? Right? Like, if you're not a Chiefs fan, you can be honest about that and say that's just wrong. He shouldn't have done that. Obviously, as a Chiefs fan, you were hoping, hey, he's good for my football team. I hope that the suspension is minimal because it could help the Chiefs. Like, that's sports brain. We've all got it. I'm not faulting anybody if you felt that way. But now here we go again, where it's like this was a lot that you had to go through and be suspended for half the season almost. Like, it was a significant suspension that was handed down. And now there's more stuff that you've done that's coming out. If this ends up being the case, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Rashee Rice, I ask once again.
I think of all of the people that have gone out of their way to try and lessen the blow for a guy like Rashee Rice that has found himself in all of these issues because he is such a talented football player and the Chiefs wanted to use him, and he was a blossoming rookie after that first incident, and he wanted to try and realize his full potential. Like, everyone that had to help him out in that sense, not just through the car crash, but also the assaults that allegedly happened as we were waiting for clarity on the car crash. And even at that point, you just have to stay out of the news. Like, I don't know if it happened or not. I don't know how in the wrong he was, but stay out of the news. Like, don't put yourself in those situations. And at every single step, it just has become more and more of a headache. And here's the thing, Brendan. His on-field play wasn't spectacular this year. It wasn't. He had a lot of drops. Like, he was not that reliable this year. I know the Chiefs offense as a whole wasn't all that great. And I know once he got back in the fold, he had a couple really good games. I thought, okay, yeah, Rashee Rice is back. He's the number one. He did not finish the season well, Brendan. And I know at times he was banged up, but I was not impressed a lot of the time by how Rashee Rice was helping out the Chiefs' cause even this season after serving the suspension and everything else that has happened. And you can just focus on the football and how he helps your team. I was desiring more, and I didn't get it.
That's interesting. I very much am not in that camp. I don't feel that way. And looking back at some of the numbers, obviously Thanksgiving doesn't go their way, but he goes 8 for 92 and 2 touchdowns. He was 8 for 141 in the key win against the Colts that kind of extended the season at that time. I couldn't care less about what happened against the Texans and Chargers. Obviously, at that time, yes, you still were holding out playoff hopes. But yeah, he had down games in those games. Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, had down games in those games. The offense was not productive overall. Like, he had, of the 8 or 9 games that he played, he had 80 or more receiving yards 4 times. So, like, I think in the context of an offense that wasn't producing, his numbers didn't seem like an outlier to me. I hear what you're saying when it comes to, like, just watching him play and some of the drops and the moments where you're kind of let down by that. I think that's probably a fair assessment. But if it weren't for this off the field stuff, I would be pretty confident in Rashee Rice as a legitimate number one and maybe not, field stretcher, but just like possession receiver that route runner, can make things happen. You want pieces around him to have the offense function at its highest level, but I really don't have on-field concerns with Rashee Rice. I really think he is a great player in the making. But like, I don't know if it's ever going to get to that point because he's a knucklehead. Like, clearly he's just an idiot off the field. There's no way to view it any differently. I thought you phrased it perfectly. Whether you did or didn't, if we have to continue talking about you in this regard, it reflects on you. It just does. At a certain point, it reflects on you. It's not always they're out to get me. It's not always, no, it's your conduct is problematic. Whether you're charged or not doesn't take away from it's another tally mark where we go, oh, yep, we're talking about this again with Rashee Rice. So that's where I think if you're the Chiefs, you got to be pissed. I mean, you have to be livid with this idea that, like you said, there were folks that were trying to minimize the punishment, not because they didn't think that he did anything wrong, but because, like, that's what you have to do when you're the sports team that wants to have him back on the field as quickly as possible. I don't think that there can be, if this is substantiated, what are we doing? I think the Chiefs will have to ask themselves that question.
I would be interested that maybe you should just Tyreek Hill this thing. Trade him.
I don't think you can at this point.
Why not?
I think if this latest incident ends up becoming another suspendable type of endeavor for Rashee Rice, like, I don't think other teams are going to be looking to scoop him up.
If that is the case, then sure. But let's say it gets resolved somehow.
Let's say this one blows over too, right?
Right.
I think was one of the assault incidents with a domestic partner.
I think that was an incident at a bar, and then it was like a cameraman or something like that. I think that was what that was.
Because I think that they didn't pursue charges or whatever the case was. Yeah. That one kind of was a misunderstanding, is what we find out.
He got out from under that one too.
How many times do you have to get away with something before you go, you know what, I got to change?
That's what I'm saying. And you're going into a contract year. It's his last year on a contract. This is probably when, this notwithstanding, like, if this goes away, this is probably when he is most attractive to other teams. So, and look, you've got some issues to fix on defense. You probably need to load up on some picks there to try and say, like, that's ultimately the situation that Tyreek Hill was in. It wasn't even necessarily the on-field stuff, even though that was there and that also was a headache. Right. It was mainly
he was a headache off the field.
He was, but it was mainly on-field reasons why the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill, because they knew their defense needed a revamp. And they said the best way that we can do that is to get as many assets as possible from our best offensive asset. Let's flip that for 5 picks, and then we rebuild our defense. And sure enough, they did it. So, like, I wonder if they're thinking about it. I would think long and hard about this being the way that you do move on from Rashee Rice, because you wouldn't just want to let him walk, right? You'd like to get something. So yeah, I think you got to consider doing the exact same thing you did with Tyreek Hill 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
If there's a market for him, I'm to the point where I would agree, because him allegedly behaving in this way after everything that has happened in recent months, these allegations are recent. It tells you that you can't hope for him to behave differently down the road. Like, that incident in Dallas was so significant in the way that it hindered his career and his team, that if that's not going to get you to change your stripes, I don't know if you're as a team. I'm thinking like the Chiefs now. Nothing is going to lead me to believe that now this will be the incident that causes you to shape up once you get, off the hook for it or don't, whatever ends up happening.
Yeah.
As this will be investigated, I'm sure. Like if you're the Chiefs at this point, maybe you thought that way anyway, but you kind of hoped like, oh, maybe he'll figure it out, understand the severity of his actions. If it's not to that point by now, it's not going to get there. And so if there's other teams that want to make it their problem and give you, a Tyreek Hill type of return via trade, that's the other part of this. Like they're going to, even if there were teams that say, yeah, the hot crazy quotient here when it comes to Rashee Rice, it's worth it, but only to a point. Like we're not going to give up huge assets to take on this headache, even though there is maybe if we can get him to shape up, there's a big return to be had because he's a good player. I don't know. He's not Tyreek Hill as a player. You know what I mean? When the
probably
Chiefs traded
not.
him, I don't think anybody was doubting when the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill that he was that dude on the football.
Oh yeah, he was one of the three best, if not best.
Rashee Rice is probably a top 15 wide receiver, but I don't know that. I like the guy. But again, I don't think I'm telling you he's top 3. So,
but wouldn't you rather get something for him instead of nothing and letting his contract run out, right? Like,
yeah. This is all pending. Like, is there going to be an investigation of this? Or are we going to have another suspension conversation? Because I can promise you, if this is substantiated, it's going to be more than 6 games. I think these would stack, right? When the league says, hey, we went through back and forth on how long your suspension should be the last time you did something off the field, and now this is a stain on the league again that we're going to have to come down hard on you. If this is substantiated and there's something that comes of this, then yeah, I think it may be taken out of the Chiefs' hands, Andy, to be able to realistically trade him for value. But in the event that, because a lot of times we see these things come out, we think, oh my goodness, this guy's cooked. And then somehow in our society today, he's not cooked and proceed as normal. Nothing actually happens. So if that ends up being the way this goes, yeah, maybe this is one too many for the Chiefs to where internally they start to look for a exit strategy that could benefit them in other ways. I don't think that's crazy. You would then have to think, okay, Kelsey's probably retiring. You like Worthy, but he's a little one-dimensional. What do you do to support Mahomes if that's the route you go? But, certainly you would probably be drafting a wide receiver pretty highly if that's something that they decide to do. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what comes of this potentially off the field issue for Rashee Rice.
And notably today, a step in the direction of maybe getting more out of your wide receivers. The Chiefs let go their wide receivers coach, Connor Embry, today. And look, no disrespect to Connor Embry. This was the right move. I think it is fair to question how Connor Embry got the job in the first place. If you look at, just pull him up on Wikipedia, I think it is clear to question how he got to the point where he got. It's not to say that he's a bad guy or anything like that. And that's not honestly even his fault that he was in that position.
Oh, I see.
It was whoever put him in that position.
I see. He was a graduate assistant at Kansas. That's all you needed to say.
Well, I am more looking at the fact that he's coaching wide receivers, but he's never ever played wide receiver in his life. He was a halfback at UNLV in
isn't
Kansas.
That kind of common though? That's common in position coaches. Like you're kind of on the coaching staff. Coaches go from coaching defense to coaching offense. Like they're just football guys. So I don't know how much of that is.
I would think at the highest level of the game, you find someone that has played the position when you are coaching the position.
He was
so
a
you can get the best
defensive
out of the
assistant.
position.
He was a defensive assistant for the Chiefs in 19 and 20. So like you can move around on a staff. I hear what you're saying. Like clearly given the situation now that we've looked at the wide receiver production and said, left more to be desired, then you absolutely look to, shake that up and maybe you go that route. But I can't claim to know enough about everybody's coaching staff in the NFL to know that there aren't similar situations out there, because I know, sometimes he coaches tight ends and then he coaches special teams. And then a lot of coaches, I feel like have that trajectory in not only the NFL, but college, high major college as well.
No, I don't doubt that. I'm just saying
I'm disappointed in you, Andy. I really thought you were making a KU joke, because I pulled up his Wikipedia and that was the first thing I saw, is that he was a graduate assistant at Kansas.
Well,
I thought this whole thing was a bit and I was going to be very proud.
Well, I'm glad that you drew that conclusion. I drew a different conclusion, and even seeing what he did after Kansas, Like he coached
went back to coach wide receivers
he went
in high school.
In high school, and then he went to the Chiefs. Like I feel like there should be a little more in between that. Just my 2 cents. But
hired as a defensive assistant in 19, working with linebackers and defensive backs in 2020. And then, so I don't know. Who's this guy? No, I don't know. What was his path?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Now I'm invested in it as well.
That's the thing. So like that happened. And look, that's more of, okay, we know Xavier Worthy didn't have as good of a year this year either, but he's here for 2 more years. We got to try and unlock that as much as possible, because we're not making the decision on trading him yet. Like, so let's see if we can unlock more out of Xavier Worthy and whoever else we might be adding to our wide receiver room. Again, if you draft somebody, develop them to be a competent NFL player. Yeah, that's what you're trying to make the move for.
You had a former Kansas running back who logged no career stats. So maybe
he returned. He was a return man.
He was a return man.
Yeah.
Running the Chiefs wide receiver room. Yeah, okay. I'm down with that's all you had to say.
Okay.
Is that they should find somebody new. I mean, good grief. Couldn't even get on the field for Kansas. Now, a lot of times players aren't very good and they turn into coaching. That that happens a lot of times. You can have a lot of knowledge in your head, even if you weren't able to
no doubt
produce on the field. But
no, I'm not saying that's
there's
the reason.
There's guys that don't play at all that end up coaching. I mean, happens.
No, I'm not even saying that he needed to have a staunch playing career. It seemed wild to me. Do you know who the Chiefs running backs coach is? It's Todd Pinkston. You know what he was? A wide receiver. Like, just flip.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure
swap
the
roles.
Commonality of that would surprise you, of how common that
No, I understand. I know that.
I know when you see Oklahoma hires Jason Witten to be the tight ends coach, that it's like, oh, see, that makes sense.
No,
but I think there's a lot of those that aren't.
And I'm not unaware of that. Like, that's totally a thing that happens, and they're coaches. And mostly, what you need to do, it doesn't necessarily matter what your background is. It does matter how you get into the minds and the bodies of the player and bring out the best. And playing careers can help with that, but mostly it's a different type of trait. And so I thought this was the move that the Chiefs had to make. OC might have to happen too. There's another name that's available today.
And I was wrong, man. I thought really Miami was going to let it play out with Mike McDaniel and then just change the quarterback. I think, though, when you talked about what was the tweet that we read about all the teams that had contacted Harbaugh already, and there was one, if you did the math, that was still had their head coach, you threw out could be Miami. I was hoping maybe it would be Cincinnati. It was looking like it was Miami. Like, if John Harbaugh ends up at Miami, I wouldn't be too surprised at this point. Now, he doesn't have to rush. I even saw it speculated that he might take his time, and if there's a playoff team that fires their coach, that obviously he would probably be the top.
Maybe they don't even have to fire him. Maybe Mike Tomlin, if he loses this weekend, he's just, all right, peace out.
Oh, could you imagine that, though, going from the Ravens to the Steelers
immediately
wonderful. Because the Steelers beat you?
Wonderful.
I'm going to say right now, that's too crazy to happen. John Harbaugh will not be the next coach of the Steelers next year. That's too crazy.
But here's the thing. Maybe the Dolphins are waiting out Mike Tomlin. Maybe.
It'll be an interesting carousel because there's enough openings and enough big names, not just in the way of like we talk about names that aren't realistically going to be hired. There's enough interesting names that are going to land somewhere. This is interesting. Yeah.
So, Mike McDaniel, would you entertain Chiefs OC?
Oh, I absolutely would. Now the problem is with hiring and again, I think this was exactly why they went to Nagy, but it's why it didn't work. And I think they need to be willing to adjust, is that Andy Reid has to be willing to maybe,
relinquish control.
Yeah. In some way or another. Right? Like, cause if you're Cliff Kingsbury or Mike McDaniel, you're going to want to come in and call the plays. You're going to want to be on top, you want to have that autonomy. I almost think that's what Andy Reid needs, is someone to come in and Reid have the willingness to delegate some of the stuff. So I don't know. That's what's going to be interesting to see. You'll be able to tell with the direction they go of the hire. They'll hire one of these hot names And then you'll say that probably means that Reed's going to concede certain things to that individual and lean on some of their expertise as well. Or they're going to hire Matt Nagy 2.0, and it's like, oh, okay, very clearly this is just all still going to be Andy Reid. But then what changes, I think, is fair to ask if they do go the second route rather than bring in somebody that can really put their stamp on it.
Well, some off-season questions to answer. Chiefs fans, who do you want to see as the OC next year? And what do we do with Rashee Rice? Is enough with these new allegations alleging domestic violence? We'll talk more about that. We'll talk about the college football playoff semifinals that get underway tonight and much more here on The Big Show, KTGR.
Follow The Big Show on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And keep it here on your total sports station, KTGR.
Paradise doesn't have to be far away. Sometimes it's a quiet walk through a state park. Sometimes it's your favorite takeout and a night in. At Shangri-La, we believe that cannabis belongs in those everyday moments, not as an escape, but as part of living well. That's why we offer 20% off select category every day, plus 20% off store-wide every Sunday. Thoughtful products, honest guidance, real value. Shangri-La, discover paradise. Learn more at ShangriLaDispensaries.com.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-444-2013. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-444-2013. That's 800-444-2013. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-444-2013. 800-444-2013.
You're a merchant of all things that are man. Firearms, fishing, cars, food, sports. Yeah, the kind of stuff every man always needs more of. So show it off at the Mecca of Man, the 2026 Como Man Show, Saturday, March 14th at the Northeast Event Center where the Boone County Fair is held. It's the best and most fun way to show every man they need what you got. Seriously, by showing them. Bring your best stuff, show it off, and have a blast. For more info on being a vendor at the Man Show, go to ComoManShow.com.
Hi, I'm Tom Connors. Went to Mark Patrick's hypnosis seminar February 6, 2019. Nothing worked before. Left there and never smoked again. Amazing. Easy, affordable, and guaranteed. A year later, with my wife Michelle, attended Mark Patrick's weight loss seminar. She lost 18 pounds, and I lost 43 in 8 weeks.
It's true. He smoked 2 packs a day, and nothing worked until Mark Patrick Hypnosis. Now we're losing weight together, eating healthy, full on half the food, crazy, enjoying exercising. Who would have believed Mark Patrick Hypnosis really works?
It's amazing. I can breathe again. My blood pressure went down, and I've got so much energy.
So much energy.
And look great.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis. Only $59.99. Seminars Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn, Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
You're not the kind to make a nice little snow angel when the snow falls. You mark your territory in a different way. With a lemonade autograph. But when others tinkle their title in your business parking lot, you get peed off. Thanks a lot, Chad. Nice cursive work, though. Good for you, Tina. Tina? Wait a minute. Get rid of the snow graffiti with Crutch's Custom Exteriors commercial snow removal. Call Crutch's and get a quote today. Seriously, though, Tina, that's impressive.
The best local sports talk around on your ride home. You've got The Big Show on KTGR.
Folks are with you, Brendan, on the Ole Miss game this Saturday. Ryan on the text line. This isn't a make or break game, but in my mind, it's a force multiplying win. You have a chance to get to 3-0 in conference, and would be disappointing to miss that opportunity and lose that momentum after the start to conference play. Not saying that's untrue. Like you want to win this game this weekend, and I will not. We won't be saying nice things about Mizzou if they lose it.
No,
on Monday.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, think about the way to frame it is think about Monday's big show if they lose. How are we reacting to it? We're not going, oh well, you lost to the 16th ranked SEC team. Like, yes, it's hard to win on the road, but I don't think you go through and get to 10-8 without picking off a couple of road games. So you might as well win the one that is against the team that's currently ranked 16th out of 16 teams in KenPom in the SEC. Like,
sure, it might take a little. I understand, little wind out of the sails if that doesn't happen. If you're 2-1, my argument is next week beat Auburn and you're right back. Like you're right back on track. It does not. But a loss this weekend does not throw you off track. It doesn't.
They're 2-0. They're 2-0. They don't have to be. They're on track. There's no reason to lose to the team that is metrically inclined as the worst in the conference as of right now. I'm not saying that. Like, I feel like when I'm presenting that, the reaction is like as though I said if they lose, the season's over. No, it's just you have to win some road games. There won't be an easier road game to win than this one, according to the metrics. Like, they're 70th in KenPom. There's a few teams in the 60s, so maybe like South Carolina ends up being worse. But there's nothing like extremely scary about Ole Miss other than like where they get to play this game on Saturday that suggests we shouldn't be looking at the new order of things and going, okay, wait a minute. This isn't the Mizzou team that lost to Illinois. They're able to win close, ugly games against teams like Florida and Kentucky. If you lose to Ole Miss, then okay, we're adding data points. What does that tell me about what kind of team we are as we're looking to pinpoint a number of conference wins that seems reasonable? I would then be able to frame an argument of, okay, it's exactly what Eli Hoff said. Kentucky and Florida are actually the dumpster fires, and we just don't really fully appreciate how bad they are yet. And, you lose to Ole Miss, and it kind of finds the level as Missouri being a little bit lower than if Kentucky and Florida are actually legitimate top 25 teams, as they're currently still both ranked. But as we know, KenPom takes some time to adjust. And so if Florida and Kentucky do not fix their issues, then we may find out over the long haul that it was more about those teams than it was Missouri.
But I think they will,
concert
though.
with Missouri losing to Ole Miss.
I don't think Florida and Kentucky are going to finish lower than Ole Miss this year. That's the thing.
No, but that's all the more reason to say, hey, if this is what we're capable of doing against those types of teams, we don't need to build up Ole Miss as this team that, if you lose to them, it's okay. Like, no, it'd be bad. It'd be bad to take this loss given where they need to go. Find me the road games that, or is your stance going in that you shouldn't expect to win any road game?
No, I'm saying if you clean up your home schedule, then you are where you want to be.
Realistically,
if you clean up the rest of your home games, you're 10-8 at least.
What would be a realistic result for the home games, in your opinion? They've won one. They've played one.
I mean,
let's look at the schedule. We can look at some of the teams. I know we want to talk about CFP, but we got some time.
Well, I mean, they do have some tough ones towards the back end. They host Vanderbilt, host Tennessee, host Arkansas.
What's more difficult? Winning at Ole Miss or winning at home against Vanderbilt?
Winning at Ole Miss. But
wait a minute. You said
winning at Ole Miss. Difficult? I didn't say that they will finish 8-0 at home the rest of the way. I'm saying that if you do, you are where you need to be.
Right.
Without
but I would argue that
road wins.
9-9 is still going to, we're skeptical that 9-9 gets them in, right?
Yes.
Tournament wise.
Yes.
So if at Ole Miss is an easier win to pick up than hosting Vanderbilt, don't you need both of them to be able to get to 10-8 in theory? Like, give me all the home games and the easiest road game.
Well, that gets you to 11-7 now, like that, because you've won a road game already.
A road game already.
Yeah. So
fair enough.
So like that's but no, I get it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy to clean up the rest of your home schedule. But Mizzou's
been harder than winning at Ole Miss to go unbeaten.
That's the thing, though. Mizzou has been really, really good at home. Even last year, like that. That's the thing. They've made that a fortress again. So I get it. Like,
we're in flux right now with Mizzou because a lot of new information is coming in that we didn't expect.
That we're trying to adjust to. And
so let me I'll run it down right now. I want your best guess at these remaining home games. Auburn.
Win.
Georgia.
Win.
Oklahoma.
Win.
Mississippi State.
Win.
Texas.
Win.
Vanderbilt.
Probably a loss.
Tennessee. Toughy. But let's my point is,
I want to see where both teams. If Mizzou is doing what it's doing right now,
sure, you can win that game.
Coin flip game.
But my guess is going to be 6-2 at home, because I would say there's going to be one that you expect to win that maybe you don't.
Sure.
Or you lose to Vandy and Texas, or you lose to Vandy and Tennessee. So if 6-2 the rest of the way is your home, that means you finish 7-2 in the home games, which I think you would agree, even if you would predict 8-1, which you may be inclined to do, you wouldn't say 7-2 would be outlandish or anything unexpected in terms of we're too negative in predicting 7-2.
Yeah.
If that's the case, you've got the one in hand against Kentucky. You would need to then find a couple of road games. And my point is that I don't know if there are any road games that I could say on paper are easier than against the team that's ranked lower than everybody else in KenPom, while you are currently kind of riding high.
A few that I think that are in the same tier, though: South Carolina, Oklahoma, and Mississippi State. I think they're on the same tier as this game coming up.
So let's add those four together. How many of those do you expect to win?
3. 2 to 3.
2 to 3. Well, and I think we may be saying similar things, but it's almost like if you get the Ole Miss one, which is very reasonable to expect given all the things we just laid out, now you're 3-0. Now you turn into that Auburn game. And again, we're not talking about the bubble anymore after you beat Mississippi and Auburn. Now we're talking about how high can you climb in the top 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in this conference. And I don't think it's unrealistic at that point. And I also would say that right now, prior to what we see against Ole Miss, they lose to Ole Miss, then suddenly I'm back to going, they could lose to Auburn. But if they beat Ole Miss and the drumbeat continues to grow because of Jaden Stone and Trent Pierce's re-inclusion into the lineup, now every game that we see them look like they've looked over the last 2, the more I'm convinced that that's who they really are. And so that's why Saturday to me is so important, because if you're the team that beat Kentucky and Florida more so than you're the team that lost to Illinois and Kansas the way you lost those games, that team beats Ole Miss, even though the game's on the road. And that team also wins 12 or 13 conference games too. That's where I'm talking about the reframing. This is an opportunity to not only keep it going in a positive direction, there's no setback. If everything continues to be really, really positive since Pierce and Stone came back,
sure,
that would just continue to suggest to me that that's actually who they are, which would be a really exciting proposition. I'm not saying I can predict it just yet. I honestly don't know what I'm going to predict for tomorrow. I do want to see the point spread when we do it. But that's where I'm at, is there is an opportunity to just continue to, when we say flip the switch, that's really what it ends up being. If they just continue to, they beat Ole Miss by 6 or 7 because, they beat better teams by smaller margins, and that's just who they are now. That would be really cool. That would be exciting. I'm not going to say it's doom and gloom if they lose a close one at Ole Miss, but relative to what I think they still have in front of them, Ole Miss is one that I guess I won't say need, but I'm expecting the new look Mizzou team to go in and win. That should be the new level that we're operating from based on what we've seen over the past week.
Well, if they do that, and again, it will continue to have you reframe and get more proof of concept of what the additions of Trent Pierce and Jaden Stone, it's not necessarily additions. I keep calling it that. It's returns of those players.
Pierce is an addition to this year's team.
He hadn't played since, they made his season debut last Saturday. Stone, we saw a little bit of what he can do.
Stone is a stone cold killer. I mean, this dude can play.
I mean,
he's fun to watch.
Feel a little bad for West Virginia that they couldn't play him last year, but he had that injury that had him miss the whole year. And I feel bad for him having to play on that terrible Detroit Mercy team for however many years it was.
I know. They won one game or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. But he was scoring 20 points a night still and doing his thing.
He's a baller. You notice that a little bit, Mizzou, in football right now. I'm noticing picking up the guys that missed a year because of injury. And I don't know if there's a connective tissue to that, or if it's just we find that we're able to get those guys to agree to NIL for whatever reason, and it's but like you could potentially pick up a diamond in the rough as a result of that, because I don't know if teams just forget how good certain players were if they haven't played recently, or you're nervous about re-injury or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I'm liking that little trend that seems to be going on, and Stone's an example of that for hoops.
Call or text us at 875-KTGR. I guess on the football fronts, the tackle that they got, Josh Atkins, certainly much more experienced than the guy they got yesterday, Luke Work, who probably will still work into some sort of role. We shall see. But Josh Atkins has played a ton of snaps, most of them at left tackle over the last 2 years for Arizona State. This is most likely your Keegan Trost replacement. Now, I guess the interesting thing is, do they go ahead and put him at right tackle? He was at left tackle most of the time last 2 years. Do they put him at right tackle and keep Caden Green at left tackle? Or do they make Caden Green go to right tackle? I don't know. I would want to keep Caden Green at left tackle just so he can have an offseason where he doesn't change positions here. But that would mean putting Josh Atkins over on the right side, which I'm sure wouldn't be as bad of a transition for him. So that'll just be interesting how they work all that through. But now Mizzou's got a couple of offensive linemen in the fold in the transfer portal, and I think they're almost set there. Maybe add one more, but I think you've got a good amount of guys. You've got your starters that you needed to add, and I think you have a good amount of guys now that can compete for maybe one more spot.
I think you do. I think they would still, I don't know that this player exists after Andrew Sprague went back to Michigan. I think if you had a guy of that caliber that you were able to get, I think they would absolutely take him, because I feel like too many offensive linemen is not a bad thing. Too much depth, too much competition at those spots is not a bad thing. And I don't think you have your legitimate star tackle on the quarterback's blind side yet, because I don't think they will ask Caden Green to move. But that's an important position with a left-handed quarterback. And I don't know if they feel like between the Arizona State kid and Luke Work and people that are coming back, right? Again, you had some linemen that are re-signing, but they weren't starters last year, so it's hard to expect that jump. Do you have your other tackle? I think that they hope so, but it's interesting if there's a guy that, we're not so sure about. I really thought they were going to try to spend big to fill the other tackle spot, but maybe that expectation I had was pre-Caden Green returning. Like, in my mind, I was thinking, yeah, you're really going to have to go out and spend. Well, maybe they kind of did, and it was Caden Green. We just didn't necessarily expect him to be back. I thought he'd go to the pros. So maybe that's good enough. And between, guards that are returning, you just have to figure out who the starting center is going to be after Tollison moves on. But I don't know. I would not be surprised to see them add more. But if they have what they have, and that's the group, it'll be interesting to see who goes where and whether they've got enough to really block the way that they need to not only run the ball, but to have Austin Simmons protected to be able to throw the ball downfield, because we talk about him being a guy that's got a big arm. To be able to use it, he's got to have that protection.
So call or text us with your thoughts on Mizzou in the transfer portal so far. 573-875-KTGR as they bring in Josh Atkins, tackle from Arizona State, for his final year of eligibility. All right, up next, your predictions on the college football playoff semifinals. First one tonight, next one tomorrow night here on The Big Show.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good evening, I'm Andy Humphrey. This Sports Center update is with Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee sells it. Go to leestirecompany.com. Mizzou men's hoops, historic win last night, beating Kentucky on the road, 73-68. First win ever for the Tigers in Lexington. Mark Mitchell, 21 points. Jaden Stone with 20. Tigers also starting 2-0 in SEC play for the first time in program history. 12-3 overall. Next matchup at Ole Miss. Tips off at 5 p.m. in Oxford on Saturday evening. You can hear it here on KTGR. Meanwhile, Mizzou women's basketball is on the road tonight. Tough test for them as they face number 7 Vanderbilt. Commodores are undefeated so far, just like the men's team is at the moment. Mizzou women's hoops 0-2 in SEC at this point. Losses to Texas and Kentucky. Tip-off at 6:30 tonight here on KTGR. Coverage begins at 6:15. Josh Atkins, the latest commit for Mizzou football through the transfer portal. Former Arizona State offensive tackle. Played at left tackle primarily each of the past 2 seasons. He has 1 year of eligibility remaining. Your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast is with Steve's Pest Control. During holiday travel, bedbugs can easily come home with you. With the largest local team of experts, Steve's Pest Control will prevent and solve your problem. Steve'sPestControl.com.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking a few showers and rumbles of thunder throughout this evening. Then by tomorrow morning, we're dropping down into the low 40s. We'll see cloudy skies for the start of the day and temperatures in the upper 40s to around 50. By tomorrow night, we could see a few more showers or even some snow showers into early Saturday morning, with temperatures dropping to near the freezing mark. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
High school hoops.
Switches on the crossover, Euro step inside, high off the glass and in.
At its best.
Catch it on the left wing, turns around and knocks down the three.
KTGR is your home for the best high school basketball matchups in Columbia. Follow the QBs, Bruins, Spartans, and Trailblazers all season long on KTGR's High School Hoops Game of the Week. See the full list of game broadcasts on KTGR.com and listen on the go with a free KTGR app. High school basketball lives here on your total sports station, KTGR.
This is the year she gets an upgraded diamond, the year that dad finally gets his retirement watch, and the year that your daughter graduates, so you give her the necklace she's always dreamed of. Family Pawn is not your traditional pawn shop, but they are your secret to saving big on stunning jewelry for every occasion. Family Pawn, where you'll find timeless treasures for a fraction of the cost. FamilyPawn.com.
Not your traditional pawn shop. Family Pawn.
You've seen them in the store, the sample people, peddling frozen meatballs and tiny toothpicks stuck inside even tinier cubes of aged cheddar. At shopmidmo.com, we don't need free cheese to get your attention. We've got real deals on local stuff you actually want. Restaurants, spas, family fun, car care, and more. All for up to 50% off. No samples, no gimmicks, no tiny toothpicks. Just the best deals in mid-Missouri.
Shopmidmo.com. Shopmidmo.com.
Life has many sweet sounds, whether it's being enchanted by the coo of a baby, enthralled by the refrain of a favorite song, or even enlightened by a celebration. Hearing connects, informs, and engages us with the world. At Hearing Aid Consultants, helping people hear better is our passion. Set your hearing baseline now so you don't miss the sweet sounds of life.
Hearing Aid Consultants in Allmake Repair Lab. We are here for you today so you can hear tomorrow. HearingAidConsultants.com.
I stopped smoking with Mark Patrick's hypnosis when nothing else worked. 1 year later, my wife Michelle and I attended the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis seminar. In 2 months, lost 43 pounds, and she lost 18 pounds.
And we feel great.
Hypnosis, only $59.99. Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m.
Hi, I'm David Bale, Exterior Project Specialist for True Sun Exteriors and Interiors. Unlike a lot of our competition, we have a 5-year labor warranty, which ensures that even after 1 or 2 seasons, if an issue rears its ugly head, we're going to stand behind it. Any new installation we do, which is going to be roofing, siding, decks, windows, doors, all that kind of stuff has a full 5-year labor warranty. So we're going to stand behind all of our workmanship for 5 years after the installation is complete. Let's just say hypothetically, we get a storm or something and maybe something comes loose or there's some caulking that gets out of whack. We do a roof and a leak shows up a year later. Sometimes you get a weird storm. You just never know what's going to happen. Anything like that, we're going to stand behind and we're going to take care of it.
The difference between a house and a home is the attention to detail. At True Sun Exteriors and Interiors, we'll turn your vision of a dream home into a reality. For more information or a free estimate, go to TrueSunExteriors.com.
TrueSunExteriors.com.
Back to more of the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. You've got The Big Show on the KTGR app.
So tonight, college football playoff semifinals start with Miami and Ole Miss, and then tomorrow night, Oregon and Indiana. Call or text us with your predictions. 573-875-KTGR. I think I know. Again, I said I wouldn't be disappointed by anybody winning. Biggest fun factor for me would be Oregon Ole Miss as the championship.
Yeah, it would be fun. It wouldn't be fun for me. I'm going the other way on both those games.
Ole Miss
in a jurisdiction of legality.
Wow, yeah.
I'm going Miami. I'm going Indiana. I also added the Rams money line to that parlay. That is my bet that I teased earlier, just to juice it up a little bit. I don't see any way the Rams lose. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I think Miami is my most confident pick. I think Miami wins tonight relatively handily. I just think they're this year's Ohio State, where last year Ohio State showed some cracks during the season, but then when the playoffs came, like, they remembered they were the best team in football. I don't know if Miami is the best team in football, but they might be the best team remaining, either them or Indiana. And I just think Ole Miss has too many flaws on defense that eventually are going to catch up to them, because Miami isn't like this top offense. They're a really good offense, but we've seen them. I mean, they've only scored 17 points per game during the playoffs.
Sure.
So but they haven't been facing defenses like Ole Miss. They've been facing top 10 defenses in the country. And Ole Miss has holes, especially in the run game. And that's what Miami has been doing most effectively, is running the ball.
That's been the key. That's been a little bit different. And they've gotten what they've needed out of Fletcher in some big spots in those playoff games. So if he gets more of a chance to tote the rock tonight, probably has a big game. So, yeah, I understand the matchup isn't great for Ole Miss. I am rooting for the biggest middle finger to Lane Kiffin, though. Right? Like that's what
he makes
everyone.
More money?
No,
that's what
they ditched a playoff team. Like it's not even about the money. It's about the fact that he thought he could go and win at LSU. He was more likely to go and win at LSU than with the current playoff team and current semifinal worthy playoff team that he had at Ole Miss. And I think that's why the country is flocking to Ole Miss, because they also want to see Lane Kiffin get that big middle finger too from that institution.
But doesn't he get another big check if they win?
He does. But that's LSU's problem. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Like if Lane Kiffin really had, I'm sure the money isn't even all that important to him either. If he really wants to win, then heck, he could have stayed put and done exactly that. But, guess not. So if Ole Miss gets it done, I would be thrilled. If Miami does too, like, I would also not be disappointed, like, because that team also has had a lot to prove. I think the country did kind of flock to them more on the playoff conversation when ultimately they were put side by side with Notre Dame, saw that the head-to-head result ultimately won out, and then we saw Notre Dame's reaction to that whole thing, and everyone's like, okay, we'll be on the Miami
I was actually
side.
completely on the other side of that. Like, I thought it was mostly because I thought it was dumb that the committee waited until they did to switch them. So that's why I was like that. I am the least biased. My agenda was for Notre Dame in that moment because I was irritated with the committee.
I was
turning
too.
around, and look, Ole Miss would be more fun. There's no doubt about that. But I'm not going with my heart on it. I'm going with my wallet, where I really feel like Miami. The one instance that I would wonder about tonight, Andy, is if Ole Miss starts fast, is Miami as equipped to play from behind against what Trinidad Chambliss is going to do, which is pass heavy. I mean, they're going to run Kawan Lacey too, but they're going to throw the ball. And if you don't control the game the way that Miami has, where they're playing close, they're either ahead or they're one possession down, and they're able to kind of establish control with the run game and kind of milk it out that way, that would maybe be a question to me of whether Carson Beck, who is mistake prone in his own right, can lead the comeback. But if Miami doesn't get blitzed and see a double-digit deficit early, I think they'll be okay to be able to kind of continue to bleed the life out of these games the way that they've done recently.
We shall see. It'll be an interesting matchup tonight. Picks of the week ramifications for it too. You have Miami minus 3.5. I have Ole Miss plus 3.5. If Miami covers, you and I will tie at the top of the picks of the week this week.
Interesting. And I don't even love the spread. I just feel like I feel good about Miami winning, but it's money line for my parlay. On the other game, Andy, I really don't know. Indiana, Oregon feels like Oregon spread might be the better money. Maybe. I think that's a field goal game in either direction, and I have Indiana in the parlay. The more I think about it, the more I probably wish I didn't, because I feel like it's going to be really
the Indiana money line. I mean, it's
just money line, but Oregon, Dan Lanning is a psychopath. That's the coaching matchup that we really.
Oh, that's going to be an awesome coaching matchup.
You got two absolute sickos going at it. I mean, they are both crazy competitive. Signetti against Lanning, and we've seen it once, but the stakes weren't like these. So that will be a fun game tomorrow night.
So we'll be looking forward to that. Again, tonight, you'll hear Mizzou women's basketball tonight, starting in just a little bit at 6:15. And then tomorrow we'll be back at 4 o'clock to talk about that semifinal game coming up tonight, and then the one coming up tomorrow night. Of course, more talk on Mizzou hoops, transfer portal, picks of the week, Rob Vino, so much more. So join us at 4 o'clock tomorrow here on The Big Show. He's Brendan. I'm Andy. We're done for now.